Alright, we have come to the end of Dark Souls. I have murdered everyone in Lordran. They've all felt my wrath, except for the two people who are in cages. But everyone's dead. We've done all the NPC quests. We've gotten as many rare weapons as we possibly can. There's only one thing left to do. Yeah, you can use this as a little shortcut. And come down here to the Firelink Altar by yourself, free of Frampt and Kath. Firelink Altar. This is where Kath originally took us. You see that there's like a whole area back there? It's got like a staircase. You can't actually get there, but you got some boundary breaking tools, you can do it. And the wall, like the back wall, doesn't exactly connect, so it's kind of bullshitted together. They don't want you looking at it too closely. So here's the Lord Vessel. Let's rest at it. Notice how it kind of acts as a regular bonfire. So we want to offer up souls to the Lord Vessel. This will dump all 4 of them in here. Thus completing the ritual. So when this thing's completely lit up with all of the Lord's souls, it acts the same as a 20 bonfire. So originally I think it starts at 5, and when you put all of them in, it goes up to 20. It might only technically take 3 to do that, but whatever. Now this is still technically a bonfire, so I can reverse my hollowing at it. That is what I would like to do. And let's enter the final area of the game. You may have noticed some friends walking around here. They are not corporeal, they are spirits. These are Gwyn's knights. Woo! They just go right through you. It's such a cool touch. And here's the last area of the game. The Kiln of the First Flame. So this is where the First Flame is housed, and it's a little confusing as to where it is in actuality. Is it in its own dimension? Not really clear. Like, you had to go deep underground in order to reach the Firelink Altar, and it opens up a door which goes through a void, some sort of dimensional rift where there are spirits, and it takes you out to wherever this place is, the Kiln of the First Flame, wherever it may be. So we got human players looking to do some co-op. So take a look at this place. Look at the geography of it. This place looks like a frickin' A-bomb went off. Because this is what happened when Gwyn linked the fire at the end of the first Age of Fire. When he linked the First Flame, that shit exploded outwards. And it's kind of hard to say what exactly this place was before that. So there are what look like artificial walls, right? It's a little reminiscent of Anor Londo, to be honest. So it kind of makes it look like once the day was won and once the dragons were defeated and the Age of Fire officially began, it kind of looks like they came here and built this place to protect the First Flame. And now on our way to the center of this thing, we have company. We have Black Knights. Now, unlike all the Black Knights I've fought in the rest of the game, these dudes do not die permanently. They will respawn, which isn't such a bad thing because that means you can farm these guys. And they have the same drops that all the other Black Knights in the game do. I should not underestimate them. They are tough. Give me a Titanite chunk. Okay, so they will drop chunks of all varieties. They will drop their weapons. I said I got every rare weapon we could. That's not entirely true. Obviously, I'm missing some of the ones that I need to play the game more than once to the boss soul weapons that I need to get the boss souls a second time. But I'm also missing like 2 or 3 Black Knight drops. I don't have the Great Sword, the Great Axe, or their shield. So that's why in fact, I should just pop an additional humanity. I put on the covetous, the gold covetous serpent ring so that I could potentially pick them up on my walk through here. If I don't get them, then no big deal. Like, obviously, I could always just do it on my next playthrough. But if I found them now, at least one of them, that'd be pretty convenient. This guy, he has the great sword. I'm missing this one. Drop it for me, buddy. Nope, just red titanite. So yeah, these guys are really useful if you need to farm materials. So we're just walking on straight up ash. God, the frickin' geography here is so cool. As you can really tell that, like, when the fire was linked, it went into a spiral. Because it just, like, the marks on these pillars and stuff, they form a spiral, counterclockwise, it looks like. And of course, human players can still invade in here. I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but they love it. Alright, here he comes. He's got, what, the Great Club or something? Oh, he's dual wielding. What an interesting dude. It's usually not a thing in this game, but he likes it. He's got, what, the Mask of the Mother on? I wonder what bullshit he has on that left-hand weapon. I bet it's something weird. Did he just, like... Is his name, his build, Strength, Pyromancy, and Faith? I wasn't close enough. Oh yeah, he's strong. He's got a lot of HP and shit to frickin' manage around here. Oh. You do a little bit of that, huh? Oh, held on. What a jerk ass. This motherfucker. Alright, run away and heal. Unless he's got some dumb bullshit plan for me. Yeah, he went Estus-stupped. What a jerk ass. And he freaking dragged this Black Knight. Well, I'm done. Human invaders, the bane of my existence. So you can do the boss run without fighting them. Nice, got the frickin' greatsword. I don't think it says anything too special. All the Black Knight weapons tend to sound the same. Greatsword of the Black Knights who wander Lordran, used to face chaos demons. Large motion that puts the weight of the body into the attack reflects the great size of their adversaries long ago. See, the weird thing is that we had the regular sword, right? We had the Black Knight sword. But I think that technically counts as a great sword as well, because in the hands of someone the size of the Chosen Undead, they are all great swords. Alright, Black Knight, bro. Give me your shield. Nope, just another Black Knight sword. Alright, let's pick this up. I know exactly what this is. This is the Black Knight helm and the entire set. Armor of the Black Knights who haunt Lordran. The knights followed Lord Gwyn when he departed to link the fire, but they were burned to ashes in the newly kindled flame, wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after. So, why are there Black Knights and Silver Knights? It's because the Black Knights were silver, but they are what remains of those who survived the linking of the first flame, and they got scorched to shit. Now, it says that they haunt, so they might not technically still be alive. Now, they are not immune from going hollow as well. They could turn hollow. You don't have to be human to be hollow. It's just that undead humans do go hollow. So it could be that they lost themselves, even if they physically survived. They might not have emotionally or mentally survived the linking of the first flame. There's some speculation that some of the Black Knights might have also or rather, it's like the Silver Knights might have turned Black Knights in the war with the Chaos Demons. That's something I've kind of ignored talking about, but when the whole thing with the Chaos Flame went down and the Witch of Izalith became the Bed of Chaos, Gwyn and the Knights like tried to go in there and stop things. They're like, oh shit, this plan didn't work. We tried to make a first flame and now Izalith is toast. Maybe we should get in there and fight or something, and then they just kind of gave up and backed off. There's like hints to that too inside Lost Izalith. By killing all those dragon asses and opening that area up, there was a pair of interesting items, like in the lava and hidden back there. It was a pair of divine blessings, and I take that to mean that the bodies I picked them up off of used to be Silver Knights. And, like, because the divine blessings are supposed to be gifts from Guinevere. I already had the halberd. Oh well. So I ended up not getting the shield or the axe. Assuming I don't get a chance to run through this again. So these are human players looking to get in on the final boss fight. But yeah, I take that to mean that those two divine blessings you find in Izalith as, like, those were things that the Silver Knights were carrying on them. Gifts from Guinevere. I imagine she handed that shit out like candy. Like, oh, everyone gets a thing. Everyone gets a divine blessing. Good luck, soldiers. And then they died there and dropped him. So right about here or so would be Solaire's summon signature if you got the alternate ending to his quest line. And he'd come in here and do the final boss fight with you. You know, I've never really stopped and looked at the fact that you could totally see into the boss room. We might be able to see the big kahuna himself. Can you see him from here? It doesn't look like you can. I'm not seeing him. Maybe his character model doesn't show up until, like, you're at the front of the door. I've never even stopped to think about the fact that you can totally see into this. I wonder if that means if you're a white phantom helping someone out, like if you can just come here and stand up here and not enter the boss room and watch the host fight the boss. That would make sense. Should do that. The final thing to mention about Solaire, I have not mentioned it because it's so dumb and it's so stupid. There was once a theory, long before Dark Souls 2 or 3 came out, that Solaire was actually the son of Gwyn, that he was the firstborn whose name was lost to the annals. Which is super not true, and people who thought that from the years 2011 to 16 or so were idiots who are just big nerd fanboys that just wanted their stupid favorite character to be more important than he was. Solaire is 100% not the firstborn, nor was he ever. Alright, let's enter the boss room. That's Gwyn. So do you notice anything missing? So Gwyn doesn't get an entrance. Think about the crazy entrances we've gotten to boss fights. Like Nito had a thing. Seath has a thing where he like flies down in the crystal cave. The Four Kings have a thing when you kill them. A lot of bosses get stuff. I'm fucking dead. He does damage straight through shields. I should be using a different shield. I should be using like my Dragon Crest. Or I got the Silver Knight shield off camera not that long ago. That would be helpful against him, as would the Black Knight shield, because it has super high fire damage resistance. But anyway, so Gwyn doesn't get an entrance. He doesn't get a big cinematic. It just kind of happens. And if you notice the music, it's the music I've been using at the start and end of every video. That is Gwyn's theme. And it's supposed to be very sad and somber. So I'm going to actually cheese him a little bit by switching over to the Dragon Crest shield. Oh no, I put it away. I can't do it. Oh well. Because that has higher fire resistance and would help me out a little bit. So if you notice, Gwyn is, he's no longer himself. He is devoid of souls. He's gone hollow. Because again, you do not have to be human to turn hollow. Gwyn has lost everything that was once great about him by linking the fire. Because that's what linking the fire does to even him. Essentially, Gwyn was the strongest being in existence after they defeated all the dragons and the Age of Fire began. He's essentially Zeus at that point. He's the unstoppable badass. But linking the fire has completely ruined him. This also drives home the whole point that I made about Miyazaki and what I assume is his crazy love for Artorias. That Artorias is like this great warrior who's fallen from grace. Look at this stupid Scooby-Doo shit that's going on right here. Leave me alone, Black Knight. Look at that cool frickin' jump attack. I've seen that exact guy do that attack and totally go over the railing and kill himself. It's frickin' rad. Alright, let's try this again. Yep, he's hollow, alright. He's not the guy we saw in the opening cutscene. He's literally a husk of his former self. You are not getting the Gwyn of legend. You're getting the Gwyn who has become a Lord of Cinder. Damn it, pick up my souls, please. Thank you. The other thing about Gwyn... Ah, shit. That's not the attack I wanted. Ow. Is, like, in the cutscenes and whatnot, Gwyn does a lot of lightning spears, right? My whole build has very much been emulating some of the stuff that like Gwyn left. The things that are like adopted by his son, and thus the Warriors of Sunlight. But that's not the Gwyn you get here. I think he can still technically do it, but now his shit's fire, and that's because he linked the fire, because he merged himself with it. And the other thing about Gwyn is he is not that hard if you have learned how to parry. He is very parryable. Let's go, big boy. I love that he does like a cool kick there. I wasn't close enough. Drink. Ah. I'm dead. I was hoping for the swipe, but he went with the stab. Okay. I'm gonna put on that good shield, and I'm gonna beat him this time. Alright, Gwyn, round 3. I've changed up some things. I got the flame stone plate ring on, as well as the Dragon Crest shield. So I'm a bit more equipped to fight him now. Ah, you bastard. Ah, too slow on those parries. Drink. That's a good look at his face, isn't it? Clutch. Oh, no, that's the grab. You cannot parry that one. Is he going into a different phase now? Drink. Good time to do it. Alright, this is his final phase, hopefully. I think he can still do his signature lightning sphere. I think anyway, so I'd like to see him do it. I don't want to get hit by it, but I'd like to see him do it. Ah, bastard. Drink to be safe. That wasn't smart, actually. I did not come out ahead after that one. Ah. Drink. Oh, not smart. You gonna do it? You gonna toss your spear? That'd be cool if you did. Maybe he can't do it. Maybe I'm high. Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. Nope, way too early. That's the big third swing. Drink? Oh, way too late. There we go. Alright, he's almost done. Yeah, I guess he doesn't do it. So he is obviously very limited in terms of his moveset then. Well, Gwyn, we've come to the end of our journey together. And it's time, if I could get the attack in, I'd like to do it in style. I'd like to appropriately hit you with a Great Lightning Spear. Now the sunlight is mine. $100,800 souls. I got the extra stuff off of him. That's real greedy. That's the biggest greed there ever was. But I'm looking ahead to New Game Plus, where I'm gonna need to be opening some attunement slots. Let's see here. Take this off. Put on my crushed shield. I'm still technically hollowed. I didn't go human for this last bit. It's pretty cool. You can do like the ending with like your character created face looking nice if you take off your helm and you got your human form on. So let's read his soul, which, unlike the other Lord Souls, is not a key item, I believe. Here we go. Soul of Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, contains an incredible power. Soul of Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight and Cinder, who linked the first flame. Lord Gwyn bequeathed most of his power to the gods, and burned as cinder for the first flame. But even so, Lord Gwyn's soul is a powerful thing indeed. So before Gwyn came here to link the fire, he'd lost most of himself already. Like, most of his power, he essentially gave away as charity. He gave shard to Seath, he gave a shard to the Four Kings. He might have given himself to like some of his family and his knights. He might have given something to Nito and to the Witch of Izalith. He seemed to be giving it all out, but he was like, okay, this is most of my power. I've still got enough. I'm going to go link the first flame. And he did so, you know, I think Kath has a point in that what he did is a bit arrogant. That essentially his motivation is like, listen, this is our time. The Age of Fire is the thing that we fought for by killing all those dragons. And it came from a place of fear and contempt for mankind to not let what was kind of viewed as an inferior species take over and let the Age of Dark begin. Because on some level, it should be inevitable, right? The darkness should overcome the light. But he resented that idea very much. He did not like humans. He didn't trust them. I would say he was even afraid of them. And he gave himself and linked the first flame, restarting the Age of Fire. And he's been in here ever since, however long that's been. And we just killed him. So, there are two endings to this game. The first one's right here. This does not say light bonfire. This says link the fire. You touch this thing, you link the fire and end the game. Your other ending is that way. Through that doorway. You leave and you do what Kath wanted. You become the Lord of Darkness, essentially. Now, we're going to do both endings, but before I do, I have to cut, because I need to save scum it in order to do both of them, so give me a second here. Alright, let's view those endings, shall we? But first, I did a little test because I was curious. Let's use a homeward bone and see what it does. Theoretically, it should take you back to the altar, but it doesn't. It takes you back right here. That was weird. Did you see my bloodstain disappear there, even though I've already technically picked it up? That was weird. But yeah, they created a contingency to make sure that you could not go back to the main game after having defeated Gwyn. This is a issue that Dark Souls 2 and 3 solved by not making you immediately go into New Game Plus once you reach the credits. But Dark Souls 1 didn't have that, as well as Bloodborne. The second you reach credits, you've already locked yourself into New Game Plus. Unless they've changed it for Remaster. That would be very convenient if somehow after the credits roll, I ended up at Firelink instead of the Undead Asylum on New Game Plus, but I kind of doubt it. Now, the first ending we're going to get is the Dark Lord ending by walking out this door.
my lord, bless thy safe return. Let Kath and Framt serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness. Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.
And there you go. That's the Dark Lord ending. So it would seem that you get a bunch of primordial serpents there. So there's more than just Framt and Kath. And the dialogue there would suggest that the Dark Lord being born or having chosen not to link the fire kind of means that Framt is lost, and even Framt's gonna now get roped in. And the primordial serpents are like, "You're the dude now. Age of Man, here we go. Time to party." Alright, so let's cut here. I'm looking at these credits and I'm like, they're not identical to the original game. They're updated for specifically remaster and not for the original. Interesting. So we'll cut here. I've save scummed it. I will reload my save data, and then we'll get the Link to Fire ending. Okay, let's link that fire. And that's it. That's all you get. So imagine the players who didn't know about the second ending, who perhaps never even talked to Kath, seeing that and just being like, what? What happened? That's you succeeding Lord Gwyn, just like Framt told you. Wink, wink. He totally told you that's exactly what was going to happen to you. Alright, so here's the thing. Which of the two endings is correct? Well, the answers should be neither, right? Because in a situation like this, you don't want to trample over whatever the player's decision was. You want both to be equally valuable. And even though this is a series that gets sequels and they're all set in the same universe, it's like, well, what happened at the end of this quote-unquote second Age of Fire, whenever the time of the Chosen Undead was? What happened? Did the Chosen Undead link the fire? Or did they usher in a temporary Age of Dark? Because we know even if an Age of Dark happens, it's not permanent, because Dark Souls 2 and 3 clearly make it out that eventually someone links the fire. It happens eventually, because more Ages of Fire come after this game. So Dark Souls 2 does the real, like, soft answer of, like, basically spelling out, I can't remember who says it, somewhere it's said, either by a character or an item description or something, that, you know, that even if the first flame kind of, like, almost dies out completely, even if it's 99.9999% dark, that all it takes is one ember for the fire to be linked again, or something like that. So it kind of says, like, well, maybe the Chosen Undead did let the Age of Dark happen. So that way we don't discredit the people who chose that ending. Like, that's essentially the answer Dark Souls 2 gives. But I would argue, this is just my opinion, that Dark Souls 3, some of the stuff that's in that game and some of the things that connect to this one, which is a lot, because Dark Souls 3 essentially is 2, because that one's more of like a, look at all this shit. It's like more of the sequel, because it's made by the same team, more or less. And in that case, some of the things you learn in 3 that I've interpreted from 3 makes me say, no, the canon ending to this game should be that the fire was linked. Because there are things that suggest that the Chosen Undead would not have become the Lord of Dark. Namely, 100% for certain does Gwendolyn survive this game. Gwendolyn's death is not canon. So the fact that he survives the events of Dark Souls 1, that makes me say that, like, okay, that means the Chosen Undead didn't go down there and kill Gwendolyn, which means that he probably didn't have a big grudge against the Lords of Anor Londo and all of that. Therefore, I'm going to assume that the Chosen Undead linked the fire. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to mean that he was tricked into doing it, he or she. It doesn't mean that, you know, he did it blindly. Because even when you're presented with the truth in this game, and you see through Framp's bullshit, and you realize that the whole prophecy of the Chosen Undead is a big scheme, even once you get the lowdown from Kath about the Dark Soul and the Furtive Pygmy, the progenitor of man, and all that, once you piece the entire puzzle together, you realize that there's no perfect answer, because, you know, whether or not there can possibly be a peaceful Age of Dark is up for debate. Whether or not there's ever technically one in the series between Dark Souls 1 and 3 and all the, like, eons that pass, kind of not really clear. But we know that from what happened at New Londo, what happened at Uasil, we know that the dark is not something to be trifled with. When it gets out of control and the abyss happens, we know it's not pretty. And even if the Age of Fire is ultimately extending the Age of Lords, you gotta remember that, like, the Lords are gone, and Lordran is not what it once was. So, linking the fire, it does temporarily lift the undead curse. God damn it, I'm back in the Undead Asylum, so they didn't change anything. You immediately get sent to New Game Plus. I had a feeling. So yeah, it literally starts as though you're getting the end of that cutscene right at the beginning of the game, and you wake up back to the Northern Undead Asylum with all your stuff, all your souls, all your equipment, everything. I assume everything carries over. For one, I obviously still have Gwen's soul. I assume they didn't take Artorias' soul away from me in my bottomless box. Let me look at one thing in here. Do I still have the Covenant of Artorias? They might have taken that away. It looks like they did. What do you know? I never knew for sure, but they do. They take it away. So yeah, even in New Game Plus, you have to kill Sif in order to get that fucking ring. Unless you cheated on PC, I assume, because I assume it's impossible to drop it for another player as a Phantom. That's a bummer. And of course, they'll take your keys away so that you don't have stuff that'll, like, break progression. But I kept the Master Key. I bought that from what's his face, from Dummel. And I still have the bottomless box. But it looks like I have to buy all the like the blacksmith stuff again. That sucks. Why take that away? That's not very nice. Gwen's soul. Let's check it out. We did read it, right? Gwen's soul has two purposes, actually. It's a boss soul, so you can make stuff with it. Let's see. Yeah, I think I read it. Anyway, Gwen became a Lord of Cinder, which is just the term used for people who link the fire. So Dark Souls 3 then immediately, like, introduces that concept of, like, check out all these other Lords of Cinder that also link the fire over the eons and eons that the series takes place in. So Gwen's soul does two things. You can make his great sword out of it, which is cool. You can also trade it into the Warriors of Sunlight to receive probably the strongest miracle in the game, the Sunlight Spear, or Sunlight Great Spear, something like that. It's the same thing I've been using. It's a lightning spear, but it's super duper strong. It's really strong. I think it takes 2 attunement slots, and you might only get 5 casts with it. So it's a boss killer. Don't use it anywhere else. That's probably what I'll do in New Game Plus. I'll pick that up. Probably going to need to add a couple of attunement slots to myself so that I can actually wear it and fit it in. Anyway, this is the end of the LP. I hope you enjoyed it. This game's fantastic. It's weird. I've never considered myself like a hardcore Dark Souls fan, but I don't deny that I really like the games, that they are super fun to me, and they're interesting, they're fun to play, and despite some of the, like, criticism that Remaster has gotten, I think overall it's a really great package. I would say even on PC, where there's less added value than there is on console, I would still say that it is better than Prepare to Die, even with DS Fix. And I think it's worth it. I probably will end up getting the PC version again someday and throwing this PS4 version to the side. But if I manage to get the platinum, which I probably will, because I'm way ahead on recording these, maybe I'll make a little thing showing off the trophies. We can look at my progress ultimately, how far I got. I think I got every single trophy that you can get on a new game run. I'm at 94%. So to link the Fire and the Dark Lord endings, so these are the percentages, obviously. PSN shows you that. 13.7 on Link, 10.5 on the Dark Lord ending. But obviously the game at this point is only a few weeks old. I'm way ahead on recording these. I know this goes up in like early to mid-August. So I actually have some numbers prepared here for the original version of the game. I couldn't get reliable achievement percentage numbers for Xbox, the original on 360 or on Steam. But because Sony does a good job of tracking this stuff with like on completion percentages, I can look up how people did with the original PS3 game. Here we go. So on the original PS3 version of the game, 41.12% of players who started the game reached the Link to Fire ending, and 31.03 reached the Dark Lord ending. I actually consider both of those numbers to be really high. That is really high. And those numbers really drive home one of my biggest opinions about the Souls series, which is, despite the fact that that it has that reputation of Dark Souls is so hard, blah 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 blah, a lot of players who start Dark Souls actually go on to beat the game, and there are similarly high numbers on other games in the series, as well as Bloodborne. I mentioned, I can't remember if Des has, yeah, Des does have trophy support, so Des probably has a decent number behind it as well. But Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 3 also have decent numbers in terms of players who start the game go on to beat the game. So despite that reputation of the games being hard, well, a lot of players end up beating it at least once. And I imagine as this game has a longer lifespan than what it has now, you will see these two numbers also go up and reach similarly high percentages to where, 30 to 40% of people go on to beat the game, as they should, because the game's really good. So it's well, why is the game with such a reputation of being hard end up getting beat so often? How do so many players end up finishing the game? And the game's not short either. Depending on how much side stuff you do, you can end up spending a lot of time on the game. Let's see, where's... let me quit the game, and if I go into load, we can see what my clear time is, which obviously a lot of it didn't happen on camera. I had to stop to farm some things and whatnot. There might have been a couple of times where I left the game idle for 30 minutes. So if we go into load, you can see my, there's my backup character, my sorcerer. I'm at 65.5 hours. So again, you can obviously beat it way shorter than that. But that's pretty much a full playthrough. I did as much as I could. I did all the weapon paths. That's 65 hours of game. So a lot of people still managed to beat it. That's way higher than some other games I played, some longer JRPGs where you look at the trophy list and the final trophy for beating the game's at 10% or something. It's wow, Dark Souls is actually pretty high. So I think it's twofold. One is that the reason it's high is because so many players like the game, and the game's good. The game is straight up good. This game's good, even if 2 and 3 aren't as strong, they're still good. Bloodborne's obviously very good. When the game's good, the incentive to finish it's obviously a lot higher. But I also think it's a psychological thing where a lot of players want that that feeling of accomplishment of beating the game that the common person would say, oh, Dark Souls is real hard. They want that feeling of yeah, well, I can do it too. I can do it though. I can beat the game. And I imagine that's what drives a lot of people to pick the game up. And on that note, the game's the game's public perception in terms of being hard was really bought in hard by Bandai Namco in the West as the publisher. So Miyazaki, he's had interviews where obviously people ask him about the difficulty in Dark Souls because it's so one-in-one with its identity. It's so notorious for that. And Miyazaki would never play up the difficulty of any of the games that he's directed, because at the end of the day, as the director of this game and Bloodborne and DS3 and Demons, he would say that it was never about making hard games. It was about making games that were fun and interesting. And sometimes you have to be challenging to do that for the player. But from a publisher standpoint, from selling the game, Bandai Namco bought into that reputation really hard. And obviously it started before they ever got the property, when Sony published Demon's Souls in Japan and Sony/Atlas USA published it here in the West. There was that reputation of this game's really tough, and that drew people in. So Bandai Namco always bought into that, and that's why the complete version of the original Dark Souls 1 was the quote-unquote prepare to die edition. It kind of feels like, did FromSoftware come up with that name? Would Miyazaki, did he think of that name? That feels more like a marketing gimmick, prepare to die. And unfortunately, I feel like the follow-up to this game, Dark Souls 2, which is not as well received as this game, obviously, that's kind of like the black sheep among these FromSoftware action RPGs. That game tends to buy into that Dark Souls difficulty curve really, really hard. There's a scene literally at the beginning of the game where the player's just told you're going to die and lose all your souls again and again. It's just shut up, Dark Souls 2. That's too on the nose. That's not being tapped on the nose. That's being punched on the nose. Ugh. And that's why I don't like that game as much. Among a lot of other things, that game tends to buy in to the mentality of make it hard way more than any of the other games that are like it. And part of that, I would say, is because Miyazaki didn't direct Dark Souls 2, and the quote-unquote B team at FromSoftware did, while the team that made this game went on to immediately make Bloodborne, and Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 launched within a year of each other. So, will Dark Souls 2 happen for me someday on the channel? Maybe. Truth be told, I've only ever beaten that game once, so I'm not nearly as familiar with that game as I am with this one, with its characters, with how to do all its quest lines. Not to mention the fact that that game is the longest in the series. It is a really long base game, and it got 3 DLC expansions, the DLCs are okay, but it added a lot of content. Dark Souls 2 is enormous. It is a huge game, and I think it's the hardest one, in my opinion. It's really tough because it buys into that mentality of being hard for the sake of being hard. And unlike this game, and unlike Bloodborne and Demons and 3, I feel like that one falls into the trap of not always being fair. Because Dark Souls gets that reputation, right? It's hard, but it's fair. It's yeah, I agree with that. But I don't agree with it with 2. I think 2 is a little unfair at points. So is it going to happen? I say yes, maybe. Maybe. Not anytime soon. Obviously, there are other things to do, and there are other things coming out, especially this next month. I know this should be going up in August, so September's got some really interesting things. I'm interested in Spidey, which is early September. And then we got a quote-unquote Souls-like launching at the end of September from Bandai Namco, at least as the publisher, and that being Code Vein. I have been super interested in Code Vein ever since it got announced in 2017. I'm really interested in it. I've already paid for it. I've been going completely dark on its advertising and its trailers and all of its pre-release stuff. I'm ignoring it because I just want to find out for myself. It's made by the company that makes God Eater, so they make some good stuff, even though I've never been into God Eater. But this is their new foray into a new genre, and it's Bandai Namco's attempt to get in on continue to make Souls-like games, because they've obviously done very well for them. So I'm excited for Code Vein, and I think you can expect that at the end of the month, hopefully in full, maybe full game, but at the very least, a little bit of a sneak peek. But for now, another chapter with Dark Souls with FromSoftware comes to an end, at least until I get to become the President of the United States of America.